I haven't been targeted like this. I mean, everybody wants to scan or con or do some BS, or it's secondary and you sniff it out pretty easy. But this was different. This was very different. Indications to me of oddities that I kept mental note of throughout this whole thing. I don't know, something changed with their business meetings and it went to going to be from Nice, France to Brussels, Belgium. This is not normal business practice. They will keep sending prostitutes and drugs and such by high-level business people's hotel rooms and put them in positions to compromise them or force them to be compromised. That same sort of smell is what I saw with all of Joe Biden's kid on his laptops. I'm like, you guys realize this guy's been compromised and set up. Like, he's not just a creep. Same kind of thing. You can put people in a position, drug them, compromise them, video record them, threaten them to get them to be your patsy. At the end of the story, he's like, man, I'm kind of jealous. And I'm like, jealous? I don't need this. He's like, no, man, it's kind of cool. you know, the special ops guys, they can be a little starved for action now and then. He's like, you should go. Like, dude, I'm not going. Or at least I'm not going without the cavalry all there. And he goes, well, here's what we do. Lays out this great plan. And I'm like, no. I'm sitting this one out. And he goes, yeah, but think of it. You could take the guy's Rolex as a trophy. I'm like, dude, relax. Don't be allured by money and power and dumb things like that. Stand for your values. I promised you a video last Wednesday I didn't get to. About a month ago, I was directly targeted, internationally I might add, by something that can only be a giant money laundering scam, entrapment set up for trafficking to make me a patsy, or it was some sort of kidnapping extortion type thing. Now I know all of those seem very high level and absurd and like stuff people talk about on the news and whatnot, or you hear about after the fact. Well, it came after me. So I thought I would talk about it. One, because if you ever experienced something like this, you might be able to read the signs that I did. But anyway, I want to tell you the whole story. Partially because it's a big flex, and I don't like shit like this. So you know this story is going to be good. So a little over a month ago, I was messaged from a person representing a Swiss private equity type firm, also doing real estate, that sort of business. And they were interested in championship racing, primarily in the United States, but also interested in being involved with it in Europe and potentially Asia. And me being a team leader sort that understands cars and building things and doing things internationally, they were reaching out to me to help facilitate effectively sponsoring a year-long championship type thing. And frankly, they wanted to do it for 2 if they liked it. And I spoke with them, messaged back and forth. And at this point, you might be saying, well, when does that happen, Casey? Well, honestly, I do get hit up now and then internationally by completely legitimate things, some of which you know about, some you don't. If you recall, went to Dubai with my wife and got to be the only person from like YouTube or automotive media to really drive the Lykan Hypersport and the Fenrir Supersport. Those are $3.5 million and like $2.5 million cars, respectfully, and I got to bang around in the prototype car. So sometimes interesting things do happen, and actually more recently I was hit up by a race car manufacturer in Europe that would like to do some collaborative videos. I'm very excited about that. So I was taking this seriously. So they give me a feeling on kind of a budget area and whatnot. And given that their business is, private equity, real estate, investments, that sort of thing, the thing about racing a lot of people don't understand relating to high-level professional racing, you don't sponsor it for the exposure. That was something I was really wrong about. People and companies sponsor it because it's effectively like a club where you can do business. And the business that you do by connecting with other large organizations or industry, corporations, etc., the business that you gain from being effectively part of that club and in the mix of the networking way more than pays for going racing sponsored. So in doing that, I gave them a proposal and mentioned, here's what we do. We do some premier, I said vintage racing events, both in the United States. I also gave them an outlook of what it would look like in Europe, how many events, where, what they would be, what kind of car would be best and most versatile for that, what the demographics, who you'd be around, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It took me a few days longer than I wanted to. I got sick for a couple of days. I just really did not feel well. And then I was helping the students going to the kart track, and we were doing that. So I put the together a proposal. It was nice, and after I sent it, I felt a little stupid. I needed to put more with regard to hospitality and whatnot, and I kind of felt like I bombed it, even though it was a nice proposal and it was, watertight and really good, good presentation. In fact, I went to the trouble of connecting with a number of my contacts in Europe in terms of where to house cars, thinking of trucking and logistics and everything, and what country, blah, blah, blah. We're talking sponsors that are a little over $4 million US each per year, United States and Europe. So, high level. In any case, there were little indications to me of oddities that I kept mental note of throughout this whole thing. Nothing that was a direct red flag or nothing that was a direct red flag or anything that would be a specific non-starter or tell you something's off, but just indications. We're going to talk about that. In any case, the guy was asking for it and he was all on top of it, and the way he did business made sense. Somebody that is just a slight air of impatience, but very professional, which you can see. And if this person's in the place that they want to make a deal and make a commission, and if they've got a person that they want to put in the right position relating to racing, that's understandable. So gave them the presentation, put all that in there, and heard back from them the next morning. Liked it. Asked a number of questions relating to cars and logistics and all that jazz. Nothing too crazy, but questions that you would expect. The ones that really hit the right points to look for soft spots. So make sure this is the right move for them. And then said this to me, because I mentioned United States and Europe, gave them options. They said, "Can we do both?" And I said, "Yeah, that's possible, but I need to go back with the numbers and all and look at the plan and make sure things don't overlap and the logistics are reasonable." Of course, you can hire people to run certain things in Europe or look after things in the United States, whatever you need to. So it's very doable, but I wanted to give them, I would kind of require an addendum to the presentation. So I said, yeah, it's possible. And so the next day, he gets a hold of me, asks me a number of other questions, and they like it, and they want to meet. And originally, and that we're talking Europe, and they're going to pay to fly me over there and pay for my accommodations and things like that. And originally, it was going to be in Nice, France, which is close to Monte Carlo, south of France. And that's fine and dandy, whatever. Just in it for the business, and although pleasant place to go to for business. A short time later, or if it was the next day or whatnot, I don't know, something changed with their business meetings, and it went to going to be from Nice, France to Brussels, Belgium. That can happen, and when you're doing international things, plans change with timing and all, and this was going to be the next week. I don't know, something seemed ever so slightly off, just slightly. So I was getting ready to do arrangements to connect with them relating to the travel and all, and the switch in my brain went click, slow down, guy. Who the hell are you meeting that you're flying across the ocean for? Now, I'm just gonna do a sidebar right here. I'm not gonna say names, but people with whom I'm connected to, either directly or indirectly, in racing, very high level racing, even Formula One. And these are not public stories, but they get hit up by potential sponsors that people grab them from going or traveling to because they end up being everything from like dangerous Russian oligarchs to South American massive drug trafficking type things. And as many of you know from motorsports history, the motorsports world is no stranger in the past to trafficking and dangerous things like that. Nothing of which that I want to be involved with, and no dream nor amount of money is going to make me be involved with something like that at my own will, and likely even against my will. So I didn't like it, and my spidey sense was going off. And I wrote the guy, okay, I can arrange this. And keep in mind, I was busy. I have a lot of other business and things going on. And I wrote him, I said, I do have one concern. Who exactly am I meeting with? What exactly are we going to do with this meeting? And how do you project this goes? It's too open-ended. And so he wrote back, kind of got a little huffy, but that's a reasonable question to ask. So then he wants to do a video call. And so I do a video call with him. Now it's a different number. So I talk to the guy. My spidey sense is going off. Very affluent person. Speaks with the air of that, speaks with the air of some entitlement. There's edge. Speaks with a slight air of, has some power, wields some power, and is speaking to me from a very, very high-end, current, modern luxury car. And I can tell by looking at the details through the car and out the windows, the architecture, in fact, doesn't look like the south of France. I didn't like the tone or vibe of it. The questions weren't really right. The rapport was not created the way you would expect it. And if this person's relating to private equity and real estate, in a Swiss company no less, there should be a higher level of manner, decorum, presentation. The vibe I got and personality from this guy was that of the unpleasant people from James Bond movies the last 10, 15 years. So he explained some things to me, and then he said he was going to send me information relating to the people and the investors and more for me, because I started doing some due diligence and looking into it. It's not so easy to find. But to be fair, a lot of very, very high-end people are effectively ghosts. So, okay, whatever, video call over with. I got the information. I glanced at it in my email, but I was busy. And I'm like, okay, I'll come back to this in a day. And my wife and I were going out. It was a Wednesday. Actually, we went up to Detroit, got invited to a pre-screening of Matt Walsh's new movie, Am I Racist?, which was a very good documentary. On the way back, I just had this terrible feeling because I'm driving in my car with my wife. I'm like, something is off. This is off. Because I started thinking about the trip and if and when I go. And I thought to myself, okay, if they arrange a hotel for me and they're not an eye shot hotel room, I will immediately arrange for a different room or a different hotel without perking their knowledge. If anything happens to be where you get invited with other people to a hotel room, hard no. And the list goes on. But on the drive, with my wife, I was thinking to myself, and she said, I can see your hamster wheels turning. I go, wait a minute. What the hell am I doing? I'm considering flying over the ocean to have business meetings with people I don't know that haven't looked up enough and that are giving me enough concern that I'm starting to come up with operative type scenarios and go no-goes for this meeting. I should probably look into this more. So I did. And the information the guy sent me of the investor in Switzerland, I got loads of statements. Swiss bank statements, statements of investments, statements of worth, statements of gain, a monthly thing for insurance or life insurance, and a scan of the guy's passport, the photo and signature section of his passport. And I'm like, what the hell? This is not normal business practice. So I already didn't like this. And I can't directly see that this is a scam or entrapment or something illicit. But this is what I did. I decided I'm pulling the plug. And the reason being is, let's say that this is on the up and up. Well, this person with whom I'm speaking is so bad at business that he sends somebody that he doesn't know, isn't family, and has no NDA with the scan of this guy's passport and a lot of sensitive information. I don't think so. I don't think so. And at the very least, those for me were non-starters on business, just bad business practice. I thought about it more and more, and I go, okay, let's not chalk up to malice what can be adequately explained through incompetence, which I think is like Harem's razor or something like that, which is also how people try to justify the Biden administration, but I don't buy it. In any case, so all these things with this guy could be chalked up to incompetence or just being off. But there were too many things. I'm going to start listing them. The first one was when he spoke with me and how he found me and why did they choose me to do it. The answers were good, but they were too short. And he's like, well, you're team principal and you can obviously do this. And I'm like, yeah, but there was no chit chat relating to the background and specifically what we're doing and all that. And I thought that was a little off. It was too quick. The other aspect was the tempo and the pace of all this with the level of manners. The level of manners, and I don't want to say like kindness, but like sophistication of manners should have been higher with this guy. And his pace was quick, which, and not to make you think one way or another, is just quick enough that if it were a con or a trap, you want to keep the person moving without getting them to slow down enough to look into it too much. That's a tactic for this kind of thing and these kind of people. When I spoke to him on the video call, he used a different number, little odd. And obviously it was a huge red flag with the information and everything they sent me. The other thing was they basically said yes to it too quickly. And the questions they sent were good, or gave to me with it, but there were a number of them missing. And a big purpose to sponsor racing is, frankly, the schmoozing. It's the club atmosphere in the paddock. It didn't talk enough about that or people or who to entertain. That's another cause for concern. So, let's give it a 15% chance it was above board. And they really did have sponsors. And, I'll get to live a business dream and it'll be a really great thing and I'll make money and do cool things and meet cool people. Okay, great. 15% chance. I already decided the guy is terrible enough at business by sharing sensitive information to somebody that he shouldn't. I'm not gonna be part of this. So that was the non-starter. So let's look at the rest of the percent chance of what the hell this could have been. Okay, so had I just gone along with this and been like, oh, this is such a neat dream. I love business and money, blah, blah. I would have gone to Europe. At the time, they were expecting me to just go on my own by myself. I had some connections and people I was going to hang out with or get together before and after, and they knew that, which leads me to something else that was a little bit of a red flag. I told him that I'll have it another day, but I have to talk to some contacts of mine in Europe and Germany because I want to make sure where we can keep the cars and that the logistics and timing and money are all there on par. And he goes, okay, that's okay, but we want to keep this, what did he say? He wanted to keep it confidential. And he didn't want any third parties involved, wanted me to deal with everything. Now that's another thing that's slightly strange. I can understand it because third parties ruin everything in the car world, brokerage, racing, etc. Why so confidential? I'm just talking to some business acquaintances and friends of mine relating to logistics. So I made note of that as well. Anyway, so I would have gone to Europe, Nice, and then Brussels. And Brussels gave me a spidey sense of offness. I would have traveled there and been there by myself. So let's say it's not racing. What could it have been? Well, the other thing the guy spoke about was how they wanted to do the business. And of course, they get a cut. One of the things he emphasized, not hugely, but slightly too much in my opinion on the call, was the money would be transferred to me. And then the percent cut, I don't know, 5 or 10%, something like that, I would have to pay them the cut. Now that's a problem for me because if they're already talking about doing that and potentially going to, they didn't say they were going to do this, but if the idea was that they were going to transfer all the money right away and then I have to pay the cut, that's a red flag. Because there's a load of different ways that can be dirty money, not real, and then I pay what would have been a better part of $1 million commission to these guys, and then suddenly the money that I'm involved with vanishes or it's money laundering. And guess who's FUCT? That doesn't work for me. That's also not typically how that goes, and especially not with the level of a relationship that we have at this point. So it very well could have been a setup for me or money laundering in that instance. The other thing is, let's take this somewhat at face value. Let's say they did give a crap about racing and wanted to do a sponsor and be at all these premier events in both the United States and Europe. Well, I'm somewhat known around the world doing high-level things and being around high-level people and being able to obviously look after students and run high-end cars. So certainly professionally we can do that much better and do a big thing. So let's say the money was there and it was real. We did go racing. Well, one thing that the general public in the United States doesn't fully get is that at high levels of business, especially other countries, they set you up, man. Like the stories coming out of China for businessmen going there, one of the typical ways is they will keep sending prostitutes and drugs and such by high-level business people's hotel rooms and put them in positions to compromise them or force them to be compromised. That same sort of smell is what I saw with all of Joe Biden's kid on his laptops. I'm like, you guys realize this guy's been compromised and set up. Like, he's not just a creep. He's been set up and he's basically the screwed puppet pawn of people or a nation, in my opinion. The allegations and the thoughts, you can call them conspiracy theories relating to things like Epstein's Island, yeah, they get people in positions to compromise them. Look at the allegations and things surrounding Puff Daddy. Same kind of thing. You can put people in a position, drug them, compromise them, video record them, threaten them to get them to be your patsy. So let's say it was something like that. And I was involved with this racing, now publicly doing it around some of the most premier social classes in the world. And I'm the patsy for these den of vipers. Yeah, that's not going to work for me. No. I don't care how much money or what you want to do. And then the other thing, simply put, is if I go to Brussels and I'm compromised, it's another country, and it's you don't have everybody to immediately call. I ain't got as many firearms in Europe as we do here. They could have held me hostage and kidnapped effectively and extorted me for anything they like, or try to. So it was all very real. And this is what came to my mind, because when you watch a chess match happening, regardless of if the people playing tell you the strategy, you can quickly figure out their strategy after enough moves. And in any case, it wasn't good enough business for me to be part of. I gotta be honest, on that Wednesday drive home from the movie, when my spidey sense on and off, I figured it was only one of these three things. I was a little bit like, holy shit. What fresh evil is this? This is not something that has frankly come my way that I know of. I haven't been targeted like this. I mean, everybody wants to scan or con or do some BS, or it's secondary and you sniff it out pretty easy. But this was different. This was very different. I texted someone in the swamp and I go, hey man, I think I'm getting targeted for X, Y, and Z out with the wife. Can we talk tomorrow morning? Which is funny because he writes back and he's like, is this a legit message? If it is, tell me two of our mutual contacts, the color of my car, type in your car, what we do. And I'm like, you mother... And I answered his questions in a comical way. In any case, he was very kind and immediately connected me with some top tier people whom I told the entire story to and shared things with. And they may or may not relate to alphabet soup power. So did that, and they agreed with me on my assessment and said, I don't know if you have too much to worry about at this very moment. We came up with how I get out of that. But it was funny, because he's like, yeah, but stay hyper-vigilant. It was funny, though, because I was telling a few close friends of mine this story. And one is an Army Ranger, good guy. And I was telling the whole thing. He's like, dude, I've got a theory. At the end of the story, he's like, man, I'm kind of jealous. And I'm like, jealous? I don't need this. He's like, no, man, it's kind of cool. The special ops guys, they can be a little starved for action now and then. He's like, you should go. I'm like, dude, I'm not going. Or at least I'm not going without the cavalry all there. And he goes, well, here's what we do. Lays out this great plan. And I'm like, no. I'm sitting this one out. And he goes, yeah, but think of it. You could take the guy's Rolex as a trophy. I'm like, dude, relax. So yeah, I was targeted directly. Now, let's self-analyze here. Why was I targeted? I'm seen around flashy cars and doing neat things that are typically the world of the rich. It's probably clear that I know some people. I have occasionally been pictured with some high-level politicians. And that's kind of that. I have a few cars, but I'd like to think that people have half a brain enough to know that I turn a wrench for a living and I'm smart. I don't just write checks like every nouveau riche idiot out there. But why was I targeted? I guess I'll never know. But there's no way that was legit. The person with whom you could claim incompetence with all that in business, I don't buy it. The guy was too switched on. He had too much razor edge when I spoke with him and saw him. And he knew what he was doing. He's not that incompetent. Well, this is interesting, isn't it? Oh yeah, so the Omega car back there got 104.7 miles to the gallon and 0 to 60 in 4.61 seconds. Basically matched Tesla. Is more fuel efficient than basically anything out there. It takes less energy to create and is cheaper. And completely destroys the narrative for the entire left at why they should have EV mandates. They shouldn't. But you know what, I'll be honest with you guys, I don't think that's a fair conspiracy theory to put that in play. I think this is something else. I guess this is my only message. When people want to trap you for anything, whether it's something small or something presumably large like this is international, they'll use your pain points and your emotional points and your dreams, etc., against you. They're going to try to find that thing. And see, cunning business people that want to kind of take advantage of you do the same thing. And it's funny because there's one small-time schmuck that did something like that to me. He even said, he's like, I'm trying to find what it is that motivates you. And I think he thought I was going to be motivated by a watch. I could give a crap. High-end watch, but that's not enough. In any case, they're going to try to find the thing that motivates you. Money, fame, power, your dreams. Maybe it's blackmail and extortion. Could be bad things. Everybody's different. But I'll tell you this. No dream of yours is important enough or good enough or irreplaceable enough to compromise yourself. No amount of money is enough to compromise yourself. Or at least that's the way I feel. I could give a crap about going racing. I love it. I think it's fun. I like to go as far as I can. And there was even an article a while back ago that 41-year-old Push is not giving up on his dream to race the Indy 500. No, I gave up on that. It's a spec series for the wealthy. Old Indy is dead. I'm kind of old. I'm not rich enough to afford to go practice. I don't care. Bye. There are other dreams out there, no matter what they are. And if you barely have 2 nickels to rub together and you restored some junk bicycle out of a junkyard or it was left for free on a curb and you feel great about putting that thing together and riding and feeling good, that's awesome. That's a good dream. Don't be allured by money and power and dumb things like that. Stand for your values. And if somebody tries to put a gun to your head for any reason, I wouldn't say go down swinging. I would just say, think how much fun it would be to mug the mugger. Yeah. Anyway, I think that's what my ranger buddy wanted to do. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, dude, let's just not on this one. All right, maybe this wasn't a very good video, but I should have taken notes. But what the hell, man? But at least things are spicy enough out there to keep them interesting. Too interesting. See you guys next time.